Was that the clearest indication yet from Raila Odinga that this support will go all the way to 2027? Because all this time, there's been a clamor that this support is for now, to stabilize the government for now. But is that a confirmation that then this goes beyond 2027?
Trevor, Kenyans like politics too much. And politics in Kenya is very dynamic. And sometimes, as somebody who came from corporate, I like keeping myself to corporate principles. So allow me just 1 minute to actually expand on something that my brother Willis had talked about. Because Willis had the last say on this SHA problem that I wanted to just frame, because it's a very important conversation. As we want to talk about politics, there are some people who don't have Medicare today. And they must just suffer the same way Bibi Wairimu suffered when she was in hospital, and the government only paid about 23 million in a bill that was 1.6 billion. 23,000, I mean, in a bill that was about 1.3 billion. What I must say, there are two things I wanted to say very quickly because of time. Number one, NHIF was not without scandal. In fact, NHIF had more scandal on claims than any other system that we have right now. And claim was the problem that I was talking about when I shared about the inefficiency in SHA. Number two, about NHIF, was that there was actually a lower population that actually registered in NHIF. If you come to think about it, when SHA was launched in October last year, that month alone, SHA registered about 12.7 million people. After registering 12.5 million people, up until yesterday, SHA had registered 20 million people. Now, you can see the excitement about that registration is bigger than what NHIF had, because NHIF at the time of being revamped had about 6 million people in the register. But the difference is this. There has been a confusion between universal health care and the issue of SHA, because what used to happen is that in NHIF, most people who are getting advantage of people are contributing. But right now we find that SHA, 20 million people have registered, but then only about 3.9 billion people are contributing, right? 3.9 million people are contributing. And this is the reason why the problem is there. The problem is there because the government has not been clear about two things. Remember, the government came to tell us that this SHA was being brought, number one, to mainstream healthcare financing, which was bedeviling NHIF. Number two, it was to expand access. But number three, which is the most important, which Willis also talked about, it was the issue of dealing with inefficiencies. Because of that serious registration, then the first two are almost getting there. But the last one, inefficiency, is a big problem, because you can remember even last week, the current acting CEO, Robert, said that there were scammers who are almost coming 11.9 billion from SHA because of the inefficiency of how the system was rushed. So what must happen here, number one, is that government must be able to articulate which one is the universal healthcare pillar that then goes to the people on normal disease. And that is a primary health care function, which has not been translated into giving to counties. So government should first of all articulate the primary health care responsibility of counties, and then give counties capacity of dealing with the primary health care issues. Because most of the people who are going to SHA are going to seek medication for level 1, 2, 3, which SHA doesn't cover, yet SHA covers level 4 and above. And that is happening because the national government is not allowing money to go to the counties to deal with the primary issue of health care. This is the biggest problem that I see as somebody who's legislating in Parliament, that if solved, SHA might work. So that seals the SHA conversation. Now let's come back to this. Now, so on Honorable Raila Odinga, you know, I think that somebody like Newt is simply snoozing. You know, during those times when you used to be a child, and then perhaps you have been caned and there's food on the table, but you still have some cry that you want to do. You're sitting somewhere, you're snoozing, and you also want to eat. This is the problem, because when Raila Odinga talks about traps in State House, it is not simple a trap. It's an ideology that the deputy president came up with, of that State House and any opportunities in the national government only belong to a certain region and a certain group of people, in which he classified as shares. This is what Raila Odinga is actually referring to, the idea that the moment election is done in this country, the two principals who end up being a deputy and a president end up giving opportunities, and especially when you think about appointments, one, to cronies who sometimes are not necessarily competent. And that is what we face with the first time of the first months of Ruto's government, where a number of people were awarded opportunities to serve in government, but not on the basis of merit. It was based on of political expediency. That incompetence bedevils a nation, because then it makes it impossible for an executive to perform. But then the biggest problem then becomes, even above that, those opportunities are given to mostly the two people who tend to have come from a certain region. So because of that, the country is not coherent after election. So what then Raila Amolo Odinga brings, which he has proven over time, is the idea that he can be able to bring about conversation about competence, which is where the classical issue of ODM expert has come into the conversation on government. And then number two, he can be able to bring about the issue of diversifying opportunities. You remember that when ODM individuals got into government, you can actually see that those individuals are spread across the country. And this is a fundamental issue that we must deal with. So, as per how Raila is working with Ruto, I think that the president and Raila are committed on the issue of dealing with the excesses of issues that we are facing as a country now. Now, to answer your question, they're dealing with those issues now, and among those issues, some of the issues that Gen Zs did raise, the only problem is that when Gen Zs raised them, they were not put on the table, and there was no commitment by the president to be able to deal with them. And Raila Amolo Odinga has forced that conversation to the extent that he has forced the president to actually sign and commit on the 10-point agenda that they shared in the cooperation agreement, that is a marking scheme then of the relationship between Raila Amolo Odinga and the president, so that those issues are dealt with. There are issues of human rights. There are issues of auditing the debt. There are issues of adding money to counties. There are issues of dealing with corruption in government. All these issues, there was no commitment because of those two problems of incompetence and awarding political cronies, which actually the former deputy president proved to be one of the most incompetent people when given that opportunity to serve as a deputy president.